Hello, and welcome back to my ISS Vanguard strategy campaign series, where I am doing a full playthrough of ISS Vanguard, starting from the beginning. In our last episode, I did Eye of the World, went through the tutorial mission, slightly modified. I'm not playing it as a tutorial, and there's going to be a couple other changes as we go through here, but for the most part, it's going to be similar, pretty similar to the experience if you're playing for the first time. In this video, we're going to do the shipbook phase and see how long that takes. Maybe we'll also continue on to the next landing. As far as spoilers go, I've played 20 plus hours of ISS Vanguard, so I know a bunch of stuff. I've also forgotten a bunch of stuff as we get into like the nitty gritty. I'm not going to talk about anything coming in the future, so if you're playing, you kind of watch these videos as you go along. I would even say, there's discovery in watching somebody else play. You can play and then make your own decision. So I don't think it'll ruin the experience if you haven't played a mission yet and you watch a mission I do. But in any case, let's get right into it. So when we last left off, we had taken off from the Dyson sphere. We had gotten a map from the builders. And so we pick up in the shipbook from leaving the planet. There's a lot of steps. Some of the stuff I've already done, some of the stuff you don't need to do for the tutorial. I'm not going to go line by line through, but I definitely recommend for, I'd say, the first 4 or 5 times you play. So into 4 or 5 landings, every page of the shipbook you go through, read it straight through. Even though you'll have already read it several times by your 5th time, trust me, it's worth it. There's a lot of little stuff you could miss. Things that aren't relevant the first time you do it, you kind of gloss over, and then when it is relevant, you skip it. So my advice, again, it's a bit tedious doing it again and again, but eventually it becomes second nature. So I'd say first 5 trips through the shipbook phase, read everything. That said, we're going to move on. We've left the planet, so the one change I'm going to make here, as you read down, it tells you to stow all your dice. Don't do that. You're much better leaving them out for when you buy new dice, if you have enough successes. Otherwise, you're just going to have to fetch them right back out. So I'm going to leave all those out. We've left the planet. Docking, there's nothing really involved there, so we go to debriefing. First thing is promote crew members. We did make our rank up, just needed 3 successes. So I've already gone ahead and ranked up Agatha and Mark. So one of the things that I am going to be playing with is the personnel files expansion. So whenever somebody ranks up to rank 2, they get an added story. They get an achievement that they need to do to unlock another ability. So the way I'm going to handle this is, so I'll just show you, these are the cards you get once they rank up. So you can see like Agatha, the only difference is going to be in their conversion. So and this isn't rank up, this is if they manage to complete their individual side quest. So she'll get an extra conversion. Again, Mark would, and sometimes they'll get really good at it and they'll get the same symbol in a different color. Other times they'll get new symbols. Everyone's different, just to show you. So on the back, it's going to show you the tasks you need to complete. I'm not going to get too into that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slot these behind the characters, like so. So they're there. Next time these go on a mission, then we'll read their personnel and we'll find out what they're doing. Same thing, as I get new crew members, I'll read their backstory right before they go on their first mission. I'll keep it fresh in my mind so I can kind of get the role play aspect into that. I really like, at times, just making choices based on how I think the character would act. So most of the time, like I said, I'm going to do optimal stuff from a strategic standpoint, but it's also fun to get a little bit of role play in. Okay, so after rank up, the next thing we're going to need to do is, if we have enough success tokens, is to buy new dice. That's however many dice you currently have, that's how many it costs. So you can see we have 6 success tokens, we got 5 dice, So it'll cost us 5 to buy another die for each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 successes. Every section is going to get a new dice. Now, if you're playing the tutorial, they're going to recommend that you just take a Vanguard die for each section and tell you specifically which colors to take. Since I'm not playing the tutorial, I can do things a little bit more flexible. I'm actually not going to do that. So let me explain the changes I am going to make. In the case of science, I am going to go ahead and give them the green Vanguard die. Again, green is a good color for science. It's their longest column. So later, as you have more dice than you can use, you're going to have more flexibility. So green there. Similarly for security, I'm going to give them the red Vanguard die. As for engineering and recon, what I want to try this time is I don't like relying on Vanguards to get symbols if I can avoid it. As you probably noted from my last playthrough, a lot of good strategy in this game. You occasionally have to take risks, but you also you don't want to take a 1 in 6 risk. Even with a reroll, relying on a Vanguard don't do it if you can avoid it. So to that end, I want to get the symbols. I don't have technology yet, so engineering is going to grab a blue die with tech. Don't have Xeno. That's going to go to recon. So now, among all my characters, I have all of the different symbols represented on dice. So I feel like that's going to, since I'm going to be sending 4 characters to most missions, that's going to put me in the best shape to be able to handle whatever they throw at me. Okay, so after buying and selling dice, we're going to go to the unloading step. We did get 1 discovery, the exotic carbon allotrope. So let me pop this over here. So you can see when unloaded, place research project R01 in the awaiting envelope. So I've gone ahead and set that aside. We will then go ahead and slot this. Okay, so now that we've gone through, I went ahead and unloaded it. There's a bunch of other unloading steps that aren't relevant yet, so we'll skip past them. Storing the lander, med bay, nobody got injured. Memorial wall, nobody's dead, thankfully. And then we're going to jump back to the beginning. Okay, so we are now on to the bridge phase, and I've gone ahead and I've collected my command tokens based on our current mission, which is 2 and 3 energy based on our current tech level. And actually, let's just take a quick look at our current mission. Which is right here. The next step, our objective is to explore the nearest world marked on the builder's map. I guess we did get the map. Okay. Pellucid in the TOI-2 system. So we're going to be heading over to that system, and we're going to be exploring. All right, next up, we're going to check any situations. If there had been any that we didn't resolve last time, we'd have to deal with them now. We don't have any. So now we're going to draw a situation. At this point in the game, if all you've done is a tutorial, you do not shuffle the possible situations yet. So you will actually draw, always, your first situation is going to be card number 1, which is homesick. It's been a couple of years since Vanguard left Earth, and the ship's new mission seems like a daunting, enormous enterprise. Some crew members are only now realizing they may never see Earth again. So you've got the effect here, which is doesn't happen now. That's going to resolve next ship phase if we don't deal with it now. Or not now, if we don't deal with it later on in the ship phase. The effect, we're going to have choice whether we're going to lose a command token, and this will get shuffled back into possible situations, or we're going to lose a success and shuffle it back in. So this is probably going to happen. You should probably let it happen. We'll talk about that when we go to deciding what to do. When solved, remove this card from the game. That'll happen down the road. Again, very important. Homesick is supposed to be your first your first situation that you face with good reason. You don't have to resolve it. Yeah, there's a penalty, but you can work around it. There are some others that are really bad if you don't resolve. So you might feel like, oh, I got to go to the situation room, and that's really going to stunt your progress at the beginning of the campaign. Okay, so here we are on the star map page, and I've got the Shipbook out here, open to our current location, which is the Eye of the Void. Let's pop that up. So at this point, we only have one option. If look at the Shipbook, the Eye of the Void. This is the main objective of the Vanguard's voyage. Divine coordinates embedded in our DNA. Sadly, there's nothing of interest in this old dead system encased in a cloaked Dyson sphere. We've already done the unidentified signal. So outbound systems, there's TOI-2, which is where we need to go for our mission. That's 1 energy, log 400. There's Beta Tarsoni, which costs 6 energy, which we're not even close to having. And it's red, which is not something we can do yet until we get bridge upgrade B02. So there are definitely points in the game where you have some flexibility. You can decide where to go. This is not one of them. So we are going to go ahead and it's going to cost us 1 energy of our 3. So we'll spend our energy and let's check the log. Okay, 400.
Captain's log. Entry D211.
Good luck, away team. As we sped toward the closest system marked on the builder's star map, Vanguard launched an FTL probe back toward Earth to relay all the knowledge we'd gathered so far. However, it may take years before it reaches our homeland, and the mission might be long concluded before we receive an answer. We're truly alone now, barreling into the unknown, the farthest human-made object in the galaxy. We only have ourselves to count on. I've ordered the section leaders to prepare their crews for anything. We nearly lost 1 full away team. I do not want to repeat the same mistakes. After all, who knows what awaits us at our new destination?
Who indeed. All right, congratulations. You've made your first space voyage. Go to page 3 of the system map book, 2I2. Use the current system bookmark to mark the page. Okay. Oop.
Captain's log. Entry 213.
The landing on the Eye of the Void laid bare 2 key facts. First, our landers will face unpredictable threats. Second, even a short scouting mission can leave the away team stranded for weeks. During our long flight to TOI-2C, we had plenty of time to put our leading researchers and engineers to work, addressing these weaknesses as section leaders prepare their crew for another ground mission. I hope things will go smoother than last time. Unfortunately, the first long-range scans of planets in the system revealed something troubling.
All right, so this just talks about things that need to take place. I'm not going to read through all that. I'll just kind of explain it. You can see, so now with the star map, I've thrown it up. As you kind of want to progress around this, you keep it handy. Throughout the game, you're going to get upgrades that are marked, bridge upgrades that are marked as travel. I see a lot of people just throw them on the first page. I did that for quite a few games until I realized, oh, wait a second, all of these have to do with this actual phase. So you put those on this side, that way they're all there, so you can see what capabilities you have, what special abilities that specifically relate to this phase of the game. And then you'll just pop this over there. So let's take a closer look at the system and what our options are. We still have 2 energy to spend. So, all right, TOI-2. This is the closest system marked by the builders. We hope it will shed more light on their grand plan. Did they seed life here just like on Earth? Did it live or did it wither? We got a bunch of outbound system options that we're not really going to get into right now because this is where we need to be. We have 3 options. For 2 energy, we can examine the cuboid, a piece of rectangular debris floating through space. We can check out TOI 2B also for 2 energy. The conditions on this planet are barely survivable, and it lacks any useful resources. If necessary, we can use it as a penal colony, leaving the worst troublemakers behind. Raise the morale in the bridge card holder, Shipbook page 3. And then we've got Pellucid, TOI-2C. This is the planet we need to explore for our mission. And again, you're always going to want to make sure you do a landing with that little rocket ship symbol beneath the 3. If you don't, it's going to be adrift. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you the mechanics for that because I've made sure to avoid it ever happening in my previous playthrough. So, all right, so Pellucid, this is going to be our first landing on a planet marked by the builders. We need to gain insight into the origin and effects of the calamity that destroyed this planet, caused 0 energy. Again, I haven't played all the way through the campaign, but I don't think it's a spoiler to say that every landing I've done has cost 0 energy. That's by design. You just, at least to this point in the game, the goal is to make it to a system that has a landing so that you can do a landing. You just need to be careful when traveling if you're going somewhere that you've never been and you don't know if there's a landing there yet. But as long as there is, then it's the 0 energy. So now the landing is actually the last thing we would end up doing in this phase, so we are not going to do that yet. The question is, what are we going to do? Again, now if you're playing the tutorial, they're going to tell you just go ahead and do the landing and you'll have energy to spend for scouting the planet. However, you can spend crew to scout the planet, and that's what I'm going to do here. Again, from a strategic standpoint, high morale is a really good thing to have. If we flip back to page here, our morale is currently at medium. If we flip this over and take a look at high morale, pop it up over here, you can see we're going to get +1 command token. These are precious early at this stage in the game. We're only getting 2 from our current mission. That'll go up, but the more we can do during the ship phase, the faster we're going to be researching, producing, building out our crew. So that seems to me really worthwhile to get this as quickly as possible. We have an opportunity to do it right here. So let's do that. We're going to spend 2 energy to raise the morale. And again, that gives +1 command token, but that happens during the bridge phase, which we've already passed. So we don't get the command token now, but we'll get it next time. We're just flipping back to do it so we don't forget. We don't have any energy left, so now we're going to do the landing. In order to do that, we're going to take a Pellucid card, L1 landing card, slide it into the lander thing, trying not to peek at the energy costs. Ideally, you're not supposed to know how much the energy costs. It's not a huge deal if you know, but because at this point you've already made your decision to land and decided to keep energy. We have no energy left, but let's see what we can do with it. All right, so here is the lander. First cost is 0. Great. We have 0 energy, so just slide it up 1. All right, so now it's going to be 1. You definitely want to get as much information as you can. The more you know before you choose your crew, your equipment once you have it, your lander if you have choices, the better. So again, we don't have any energy left, but we can use the ability over here under Scan Planet to spend a crew. So we're going to do that. Let me just take a look at our crew and figure out who we're going to spend to do it. Okay, so we actually don't have a lot of choices because these 2 crew I was supposed to put in resting. So they were on the last mission. They are not currently available. Furthermore, when spending crew, you cannot spend the last crew in a section. So we can't spend either of these 2 even if we wanted to. We can only spend an engineering or a science. Now I've gone ahead, remember I had checked ahead to our production projects to see, because that's what I plan on doing production, what symbols are we need to boost. We're going to need the wrench. We're going to need technology. So we are not going to need biology. So Jesse is going to go ahead and do some scouting. Maybe not her specialty in engineering, but she's gone through the manual. She's learned how to use the equipment. So I can imagine Jessie sitting over on the side of the bridge and scanning for tiny little life forms or whatever else they find. So let's set her aside. And also, as a note, I decided kind of to keep the story going. I'm gonna be setting up a spreadsheet in a Google Doc that I'll share. To keep track of what's everybody doing, who went to the planetary mission, but beyond that, who helped with a research project, who did scouting like this, kind of really be able to tell each character's full story by the end. So we'll keep track that Jessie's first act on the crew is to find out a little bit more about the planet. So we will slide this up another step, and there is a third step that is also going to cost 1 energy. We do have 1 more crew available, and that is going to be Javier in science. So he should know a thing or two about how to scan for things. So he's going to go ahead and do that, which has given us all the information on the card. At this point, we can just pull it out. We don't have to leave it in there. Flip it over, we get to know everything. So what do we know about Pellucid? Well, we know that for the landing, orbital debris detected, shields are advised. Okay, good to know. Frequent checks. So this is going to give us an idea of what, we are going to have more crew because we're going to go to the barracks. And so we will have some choice about who to get to send. Unfortunately, Javier might have been useful for this mission because he's got gathering, but he is already in resting crew. We also need combat. So we'll see when we're recruiting. Maybe we'll look for those. The biomes, it's not really useful information to us right now. In the future, it will be. I think that, so there's ruins and I still don't remember what these symbols are. I am, however, committed to finally getting these. I was right about ruins. Planets covered in ruins, structures of alien civilizations, or with ancient mechanism. And understanding what the biomes mean can also help when you're kind of figuring out equipment, what you might be looking at. They're more than just thematic. Like they really, they give you an idea of what kind of discoveries might be available on the planet and such. The other one is Void, a special icon used when exploring space-based zero-G locations or when the crew members are in near void conditions with little to no gravity. Okay, so we've got some flavor. Again, there's not really anything I can do to act on that information right now, but good to know. Danger, solar flares. Advising defense and scouting. Be prepared for A danger die rolls. Again, knowing which danger die, you've got the chart here that shows you all the different possible results. So if let's say that danger die C might come up, you could potentially lose supplies. So you might want to take a lantern that holds more supplies or outfit it to that. Or, if you know that you're at risk, and that's not C, that's G, but so we can look at A. A is pretty straightforward. On a 1, you're going to spend a die. On a 2, you're going to gain a wounded injury. Okay, so again, it can be, there's not much we can do about it now, but in future missions, every bit of information is helpful. So that completes the scouting. All right, and now we're going to move on to the ship facilities phase. We have 4 different options. We can resolve situations. Again, we've got our homesick. So that's one potential. We can go to the barracks to get more crew members. We can go to the research laboratory. We do now have a couple of research products that we've picked up that are in the awaiting envelope. And again, we could go look at them and see what they are. All right, and I will just take a look. It's a good thing to get in the habit of. So we've got 2 research projects in the awaiting envelope right here. And really what we want to look right now is what do they cost discovery-wise? One of them is free. Great, we can do that. The other is mineral discovery. We don't have any mineral discoveries yet. Good to know, though, that's something we're going to be looking for on our planet. So we're not going to research on the first turn. As exciting as that might be, This is where the tutorial advises you to take barracks and production, and they are absolutely right. That is what you should do on the first turn. No question about it. So, and that, speaking of which, that is the other option, is the production complex. We are going to do that. And the add-on facility, which we don't know what that is. That comes later in the game. So we've got 4 options. We've already decided we're not going to do research. Because we want to do barracks and production, we're not going to do homesick. We'll just have to deal with that. So all 3 of these are going to go to the awaiting envelope. I'll just set them aside. Honestly, if you have a table set up where you don't have to put things away, you don't need the waiting envelope. In fact, I'm just going to put them over here. This is my awaiting envelope. That way, they're always out there if I want to reference them at some point. And I've said this in one of my posts on Board Game Geek about things you'll get wrong the first time you play. The awaiting envelope is just a storage mechanism. You have access to it. You can look at it. Whenever something would need to be put in place, like if you got a lander mod, the next time you do landers, you're going to get those lander mods. So it's fine if you have the space on the table. Just make sure you know, hey, that's my awaiting envelope. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our first thing. Always, when you're building up your crew, especially if you're going to go someplace else, let's go to the barracks. If we went to production right now, well, we've only got 1 available crew member in each department. We wouldn't be able to spend anybody because we have to have at least 1 available in each once we finish production, or once we finish the facilities. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go to the barracks, spending a command token. All right. So here we are on the barracks. There's a couple different things we can do. We can transfer crew, which, again, we're not going to do now, but down the road, it's certainly worth doing to kind of move people into sections. You know, you're not always going to get optimal choices. When you're drafting, you might realize, oh, this person would be better over here. So we'll have that opportunity. Train recruits, you need level 3s to do that. We don't have any of those yet, so we're not going to do that. But draft new crew members. Now, remember, in the ship phase, we did manage to increase our morale to high morale. So normally we would get 5 cards. If you're at low morale, if you're at low morale, you only get 4. If you're at high morale, you get to draw 6 cards from which to choose. So even though we don't get that extra command token yet until next time around, we do get an immediate benefit of raising our morale. Let's talk about that from a story standpoint. So, it's taken Vanguard quite some time to get out. They've woken a bunch of people up from torpor just to reach this point. There's a lot of people still still in the torpor chambers who haven't even been activated yet. But apparently, among the people they've activated, they've already got troublemakers. Okay, well, I guess if it makes the rest of the people happy and more productive, then sure, let's send some of those people down to a desolate planet. Hopefully, a star won't go nova and they won't be buried alive, and come hunting us down. But all right, let's go ahead and move on to the barracks and recruiting, where we are going to get 6 options, which I've drawn randomly. I'll just lay them out here. And I'm going to take a look, decide who I'm going to put where, and then I'll go over it. So, be right back. Okay, so I've figured out my crew assignments and what I'm going to do with these. The first thing I looked at is, who am I going to send on this mission from the 4 I've already got, and who am I going to be using in production? So again, I peeked back over to production. I'm going to need these 3 to advance my current, to advance the projects that I plan on slotting in, so that I'm going to be able to complete a couple things in the shipbook phase. Don't need a Camille symbol, and it does say here on the Palisade card that we want to have some scouting to deal with the danger. So he's going to be our security guy. So now I'm kind of thinking about who I might want to send elsewhere. So let's take a look. And so the first one that jumped out at me was this is Monica. This is the only character I drew with a red conversion symbol. Ideally, I'd put her in security because, like I said, security has the most red dice. But I'm already sending Camille. So, and I do want to send her on this mission because she's got that mining, and the Palisade card says that's frequent checks. So we definitely want to get her on this mission. So for now, I'm going to send her somewhere else. I decided to put her in recon. She may get transferred to security at some point in the future, or maybe not. If she levels up to level 2, I may just keep her there. Because when you transfer somebody, you do to a different department, you do have to lower them in rank. So I want to make sure I do well on this mission. I want to make sure I'm able to get discoveries. I really like her ability to spend a charge to gain a discovery from a deck with lead tokens of a total value of 2 instead of 3. Interesting. I guess if you're playing in Deadly Space Mode, that's even if we were playing the full. Again, to reminder, I am playing Deadly Space Mode, but only for the first 2 abilities that have to do with morale and an evac. I'm not using the rule that says you need a value of 4, just because I think it would change the game too much. And since it's just strategic playthrough, I want it to, as closely as possible, match the plays that you might have if you're planning on playing your own campaign. So anyway, that makes the ability even better if we were playing with that rule. Either way, I really like her, so she is going to get slotted into recon. We'll find out a little bit more about her backstory when we're ready to go on the mission. So the next thing I was looking at is Nicholas Green here. He's got the other symbol that we're looking for, frequent checks, combat. He's got blue dice, which, as I said before, is, it's ideal in engineering. And actually, I'll show you, I did also do that for engineering. I chose Boris to go in engineering because he's got the ability to spend a charge to refresh all his blue dice. If Boris gets up to rank 3, that's going to be spend 1 charge to refresh 6 dice potentially, which is fantastic. So he gets slotted into engineering. He is going to be going on this mission. So we'll find out more about him in a bit. Nicholas is getting slotted into science. He will also be going on this mission. Last but not least, we need to put somebody in security. And as I said, I don't have anybody with red conversion abilities, which would have been ideal. Poor Zyma. I can't even tell you how many times she's come up in my other campaign and has not gotten selected. The one time she ended up on the crew, she didn't get sent on any missions. Her ability's not great. So I think this is the second time she's woken up, as a matter of fact, when I was doing initial selection, if memory recalls. Once again, she's going back in the torpor chamber. But maybe one of these days we'll let her stay awake and she can plant a nice garden. Sorry, Zyma. That left me down to 2 choices. Interestingly, both with a green conversion symbol, both with construction. Looking at the 2, I opted to go with Inda because I like her ability better. For Stepan, spend a charge, then discard any number of cards to refresh a die for each discarded charge. That's not bad. It's if you have time to kill, you can use a prepare action to draw cards. But that's hard to make work. Spend 1 charge to replace one of your injury cards with a wounded injury. Great. That's, especially later on down the road, there can be some really nasty ones. So she's going to go ahead and go into security, and Stepan's going back to sleep. Better luck next time. All right, so that concludes the barracks, and next we are going to move over to production. So let me get those out, and we'll take a look and see what our options are and what we want to put where. Okay, so we're gonna, with the production complex, gain any new production projects from. So this is, again, if you had them set aside in the waiting envelope, you grab them now. You would put them in here, which is this placeholder area. Then if you get production upgrades, there's 3 different upgrades. They end up going here, here, and here. If you had any of those, you'd slot those now. Then we're going to progress all current projects. So anything already slotted here, we would move 1 step to the right. Don't have any. So then we're going to go to start new projects. So from our 4 available here, which is what you start the game with, we can slot them in. We only have access to 1 production line right now. So it's pretty straightforward for the most part. We've got the Pelican Lander, which... So at this point, what I'm looking at, it starts on stage 1. It's the only card we've got that starts on stage 1. So no brainer. We're going to put that in slot number 1. Jumping up, we have 1 that goes in stage 3. It's not that one. There we go. We have the section tools starting stage 3. So great. We'll put that in stage 3. That leaves us 2 choices of 1 that can start in stage 2. We can get heavy mission equipment or improved Vanguard systems. I don't remember specifically which they give, but I do remember that the first time I played through this, I saw, bridge upgrades. Yeah, that seems really good. It seems like, let's make Vanguard better as quickly as possible. So that is also the card I was looking at when I decided which icons I was going to need. So I've already made this decision. It is going to be this one. This is going to be our stage 2. Our other option is just going to get slotted back in to available projects. Again, it doesn't matter where you put it. Just as a kind of reminder to myself, I'll put it in the middle because it's a stage 2. So kind of at a glance, I know what's where. All right, so again, we don't progress these yet for free. That step has already come, but we do now have the boost production. And again, like I said, you're going to want to read through all these very carefully. Don't skip them. Read them even if they're not relevant. Read them the first 5 shipbook phases. Take special notice of anything in red, because that's when you get to, mess around and potentially do more. And every place you go, production, research, situation, you're always going to get to do something for free. You'll see as that comes up. So production, even if you have no available crew to send, you're going to get to advance any previous project 1, and you're going to get to slot new projects. When you go to research, you're going to get to research one of those without spending a crew. You're still going to have to pay whatever the discovery cost is. But you'll at least get one of those free, potentially more. We'll explain that in detail once we do it. Same thing situation. First one's free. The rest are going to cost you crews. So keep that in mind. Just remember, as a general rule, you always get to do something without spending any crew. So, all right, production. Let's talk about spending crew. First one, we can spend any. Let's take our available crew. I've already decided who I'm sending on this mission. Again, you don't have to make that decision yet, but it certainly helps if you kind of already slot who you think you might send, so you have a better idea of who's available. In this case, we're going to want to hold on to Keith and Tabisa to use their technology expertise to help us out. So we're looking here at the section tools. ISS Vanguard was only meant to safely reach the divine coordinates and establish first contact. If we're to explore more alien worlds, we need additional equipment for our away teams. Lander mods, equipment, production projects. Great. This is going to give us a lot of stuff. There's a reason this is starting stage 3 and requires any icon. The game is telling you, yeah, do this, get this done. So we're going to spend Inda to do this. And again, I'm going to actually, well, let's see, because it could either be Inda or Vadas. We've put her in security. So, I actually, well, So does it make more sense for her to be working on this? The other project, the one of those who doesn't work on this is going to end up working on the Pelican lander. I feel like, okay, I'm just looking at the description of their abilities. Vadas is energetic. Inda is unbreakable. So when it comes to this, I feel like from a construction standpoint, Vadas is ready to go. If he were working on the Pelican lander, which is going to take a while, I think he'd get impatient. I think his own personal morale would come down. So being the good section chief, really understanding the crew the way they do, decides, yeah, we're going to put Vadas on this particular production project. He's rearing, ready to go. He's going to get it done. We're going to get all sorts of new stuff out of that. So he's going to do that. He's going to boost that. Now we're looking over at the one we've got in stage 2. So here we have the improved Vanguard systems. Our long trek to the Eye of the Void and our first mission gave us many ideas on how to improve our new home. So again, this, just to show you, can be done with either technology. And note, sometimes they say plus. So sometimes you're going to need multiple crew to advance it one step. This is or. So technology or repair. I could use anybody, but I also know that the Pelican lander, not repair, construct. I also know that the Pelican lander is going to need construction. So Inda is getting set aside there. Keith and Tabisi are both going to be working on this production project. And with the two of them working hard and working well as a team, they're going to get it done because each crew you spend moves it up 1, right? So it started in stage 2. So feel like Keith gets the ball rolling and Tabisa is there to help finish it up. So those are complete. Last but not least, we do still have the Pelican lander, which we can progress with a construction icon. Just double checking to make sure. So that is going to be Inda. She's going to work on that. And that moves up to stage 2. Next time we do production, it's going to move up to 3. And then we just have to spend one more person with construction to get that done. So I'm just going to take a moment to log what everybody did and get out the items we're going to get from all the cards we're going to get from completing these. And then we'll take a look and see what the fruits of our labor are. And we're back. And okay, so just want to remember I went to production, so we spent our second command token there. Let's take a look. Let's start with the improved Vanguard systems. Replicating the technology the builders used in their Dyson sphere allowed us to vastly improve the output of Vanguard's solar panels. We also upgraded our production capabilities and made countless small improvements throughout the ship. So what are we going to get from this? We are going to get bridge upgrade, +1 energy as solar panel, improved solar panels, +1 energy whenever you generate your energy pool. Again, that's going to go into waiting, so I'm just going to throw it over here. We are going to get an increased tech level. We're up to tech level 2, which is going to give us 4 energy, plus the solar panels, total of 5. Again, these don't take effect yet, so if we had, say, some other thing that said, hey, you need tech level 2, we don't have tech level 2 yet. This is a case where this is in the awaiting envelope. Whether it's the actual envelope or sitting off to the side on your table, it's not available yet. So set that off to the side. We got a lander mod. Emergency broadcast system. It's a utility mod. Crew members may discard 1 charge each and move this mod to the awaiting envelope to gain 2 extra supplies. That'll be handy for sure. Again, set it aside to awaiting. It's not going to stay there long. Last but not least, we have dual production lines. An entire second manufacturing complex essentially doubles our production capacity. You may use for production queue 2 slots. So there you go. Next time, if we have multiple, we're going to be able to slot them down here as well. Again, this does not get installed yet. We'll set it aside in the waiting area. And let's check the other card, Improved Vanguard. That was one I just did. So that's gone. Let's take a look at Section tools. These basic tools should help our away team deal with the unexpected. Hopefully, as our knowledge progresses, we will be able to create more of them. All right, so what are we going to get out of this? I have all the cards gathered. First up, we're going to get heavy armor plating, nav console, and multi-directional thrusters. This is just a series of lander mods. They're all structural, and they all give +2 to one of the attributes. So we're going to be able to make something better. Those are going to go in awaiting. Again, we'll be pulling them out very shortly. We also got a bunch of equipment. We have 2 med kits, which can be used. Just spend a green die. You or another crew member in your sector discards 1 injury die, then return this card to the armory. So it's a one-shot for the card. It doesn't cost an action. You can just do it. You still get your 2 actions that turn. If it costs an action, it would say so on the card. So we got 2 of those. They're personal equipment. Very confusing between small and personal equipment. I'll gripe about that more later. But they're personal equipment. They're gray. They can be used by anybody. So we'll set those aside. Then we've got 4 sections specific. We got the portable AI, which goes to science. Whenever you make a dice check in a sector with a flag, meaning it's fully explored, you may roll 1 die from your spend pool. When that comes up, that's really nice, especially if you have something repeatable you can do in an area that's completely explored. So set that aside. Can only be used, again, these are all personal equipment. We don't get any mission equipment yet. That can only be used by science. Our recon gets a jetpack. They can spend a red die, move to another connected sector, ignoring the path icons. Fantastic. This is just, yeah, I can tell you strategically, again, from previous playing, this is a very nice item. Do note it does count as an action, so something to keep in mind. Okay, engineering gets the construction arm. It grants that character a new convertibility. They can convert blue basic dice symbols into construction symbols. Last but not least, security gets the adrenaline shot. I gotta be honest, I haven't used this a lot. It seems pretty darn risky. But in a pinch, roll the C danger die and refresh all dice, then return this card to the armory. So that's that. That is our equipment. We also get 2 new production projects. Advanced section tools. Too many times our away teams face tasks they were barely able to handle. These new tools should help us to easier solve challenges that may appear during planetary exploration. It's going to give us another production project and some equipment. It's stage 3. So we should have no problem finishing that next time we hit production. The other one is biome suits. Our study into hazardous biomes and situations gave us ideas for many specialized armor and exoskeleton systems. So going to grant equipment and production project. And it will start on stage 2. So we're going to set those aside into our awaiting section. We are done with that card, and we have finished with the shipbook phase. Okay, and I just said that I was done with the shipbook phase. By that, I actually meant I was done with the ship facilities section. So we do have a couple other things that I've already, while I was in that blink of time, I took care of a few things. I only have one choice for the lander. It's the Space Ranger, so I've gone ahead and put that out. Again, this card is just kind of a reminder of all the abilities you have. You don't necessarily have to pull it out. Or if table space, you could use that instead of the big card. It's got all the relevant information. It just doesn't have the preset slots for everything. Lander mods, again, I took them out of the waiting area. We had 4 different mods, 3 structural, 1 utility. I've got, you want to keep your lander card to the, again, technically, right? So my lander is something like this. Well, so technically it's like that, but whatever. we fully explored it, so we can keep that on hand. Again, we know the first thing it told us is we want higher shields, so we are going to use the heavy armor plating to bump our shields from 2 to 4 and hope we don't have to rely too much on the other abilities. We only have one utility mod, again, this particular one. Pay attention to what's listed here on different landers because what they're able to take will be different. In this case, we'll put our only utility mod available, the emergency broadcast system. We're going to start with 6 supplies. We can have a maximum of 5 discoveries. We can take 4 personal equipment. So these are the 4 I decided to go with. With the construction arm, I've already got a construction die on engineering, and it's not one of the symbols that, just because, and with the Pellucid, it tells us what frequent checks are and danger. There's going to be other symbols that you need on the planet. And honestly, in my experience, sometimes some of them will be more important. But there's no mention of wrench, so I'm not going to take construction arm. I'm going to take a med kit. Like I said, with the adrenaline shot, I like to mitigate risk where I can. At this point in the game, I don't have a lot of ways to reroll danger dice. In fact, I think with section cards, all the section cards that let you reroll danger dice is only during a dice check. It's a good opportunity to kind of explain this difference. So if you look at the adrenaline shot, roll the C die and refresh all dice, then return this card to the armory. I'm actually not sure of this. That is not in and of itself part of a dice check, though I wonder if you used it while you were in the middle of a dice check, could you use a card to re-roll that danger die? I actually don't know. But we're not going to find out now. I'm going to set that aside. We're not going to take that. We're going to take an extra med kit. We don't have to decide who gets what yet. We can do that late. We don't do that till after landing. So we're going to take our equipment. We're going to put it on the lander board or next to it, but I'm just going to tighten things up a bit. Then we choose which crew. We actually don't have a choice. We had 1 left. We used everybody else. Very efficient this time around. We had 1 left in each section. So they're all going on the mission. Again, like I said, we're going to send all 4. Hopefully it won't be too hard for me to manage all 4 at once. We'll see how it goes. We're going to send all 4. I've given them all their charges. They've got all their dice. If I had more dice than I had space for in a column, based on their rank, this would be the point where I'd have to make that decision and decide, before even landing on the planet, before seeing the planet, right now I have to decide, which dice am I going to put on my board? The rest are going to go in my compartment. I've seen some people do that incorrectly, where they think that excess dice just get moved to the spent pool. That is the case if they get bumped down because of an injury. But at this phase right here, if you have, let's say I had 5 red dice, he's only rank 1, I can only slot 4 of them. The 5th one is not even going to be available. It's going to be off camera in the section box. And you have to make that decision at this point. So I don't have to make that decision. Everybody's just taking all the dice they've got. The one other thing I would have to do now is choose section cards. It's at least 10. It can be more. I remember, and I didn't realize that. I kind of glossed over that the first time because I remember I got somebody whose their personnel file goal is to have, I still haven't accomplished that one yet, but is to get 15 cards in the discard pile. And I'm like, how do you do that? Oh, well, you can take 15 or more cards. So there are 14 to choose from at rank 1. The 10 basic that they suggest with the white border, 4 additional ones. So I'm going to do that off camera before the next session, figure out who's taking what equipment. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much done here. We've done everything in mission launch. We are, at this point, ready to attempt a landing on Pellucid. And I do think this is, we're getting close to an hour, so I think that's a pretty good length for this video. So we're going to stop here, and next time we're going to see what the planet of Pellucid has to offer us. So again, thanks for watching. If you caught anything I did wrong, let me know in the comments. I'll try and fix it. If I catch anything, I'll put it in the subtitles, and look forward to continuing this. Until next time.